You know, something I think a lot of people don't actually know about me is that I think that this is pretty cool. Do you get it? Do you get it? People give Frozen a lot of shit because of this, and this.
Let it go! Let it go!
But strip everything away until you're looking at just the movie itself, and you realize it isn't nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Yeah, Let It Go is overplayed by everything and everyone, but the reason is because the music in that film all around slaps. You got talented songwriters making music for talented people that just makes you brim to life with that classic Disney charm. Yeah, I'm a Disney schlock, who cares? That doesn't take any charm away from the movie. I fucking love the animated Disney movies at their best. You can just mute it and be in awe of the absolutely gorgeous world being presented to you with the seemingly endless resources of our future tyrannical dictators that are in the House of Mouse. The magic is at its highest when the artists being given those bags of Disney money care about the product they're making. Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Bolts, they're all forgettable because it just feels like a manufactured product hoping it'll sell while missing all the magic of films like Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, and so many countless others in the Disney catalog. It's the same reason why this pattern of live-action remakes feels so soulless despite doing everything in their power to evoke the exact same imagery the animated films managed to make feel so alive. And that's why I was hesitant about Frozen 2. See, Disney is great at milking any beloved franchise that is successful. Pirates of the Caribbean was a movie that everybody used to love. People were excited to watch it and hear about a sequel because the first one was made by people who genuinely cared, who wanted to see this piece of art made to the highest fidelity possible. But as the franchise went on, it just became Disney saying, we need a movie to dump in July, make another Pirates movie. Almost every single Disney sequel has that sort of disregard for filmmaking just to maximize profits. And with Frozen being their highest grossing animated movie ever made, I really didn't know if this was going to be something that they were going to put genuine effort into, or just something that they were just going to throw into theaters. I was really into the style and aesthetic, and I could tell that the movie was going to be a lot more mature than the rather childish original. Then when I started hearing some of the music and how freaking Disney it was, all I could think was,
oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Frozen 2 is just heaps of fun from beginning to end, and if you don't want to hear spoilers, then please stop watching this video now, because I can't talk about the movie without spoiling everything about it. I mean, I can, it's just not fun. It's definitely a more mature story than the first movie, which is something I am really happy about. It does make sense considering that Frozen was 6 years ago at this point, so the kids that were singing Let It Go in elementary school are jaded high schoolers now. Everything that made the original fun is in here, but with a higher emphasis on story and maturing. In the original Frozen, the songs were almost all great, but they more felt like they were there to sell a soundtrack. About half of the songs didn't really feel like they were threaded into the story of the film. The movie wanted to be this parody of the Disney aesthetic, so even some songs felt like parodies of stuff you find in Disney movies. Frozen 2 threads the music into the very life fiber of the story. Music is now used to establish character norms, to move the plot forward, or to show character development and growth. I also felt like the music was a lot more present in this film than the first one. Frozen front-loaded most of its music, but Frozen 2 definitely has a much better balance, making the music work as a part of the world rather than feeling like an obligation. So much of the music in the film hits so hard because it works on so many levels. It lets the audience relate to the emotions of our main characters, it successfully moves the plot forward while still being fun and catchy, and it just lets me remember what it's like to be a kid again for a few brief minutes. I'm losing health insurance in a few months. Let me have this. The overall more mature tone of Frozen 2 elevates it above the first one for me. The first movie was very childish and had a deceptively simple plot. It doesn't try to explore any facet of its universe at all, and just tells the story of a small group of really likable characters going up then down a mountain. And that's really it when you break it down. All of the fun came from the interactions the characters have during this rather simple adventure. It's why the level in Kingdom Hearts 3 sucks, because it's the same story of going up and down the mountain but with none of the fun interaction. Frozen 2 is started by a mystery that needs to be solved. What is this lullaby referring to? Who or what is this voice drawing Elsa in? Everything in the movie is set in motion by these two questions, and the world just becomes more engrossing in our adventure to find the answer. Honestly, the biggest problem the movie has is the fact that it's a sequel to Disney's most successful animated film, and it does not want you to forget it. Frozen 2 constantly shoves the first movie in your face, which is really to this film's detriment. It pokes fun at Let It Go and has a lot of callbacks to the events of the first film, which is fine when done in moderation in a sequel. When done right, callbacks can help reinforce a powerful moment by letting the characters recall what they learned from their previous adventure, or contextualize parts of the first that weren't really explained, like how we learned what Anna and Elsa's parents were doing on the boat in the first place. That was pretty neat. But name dropping and reenacting parts of the first movie for charades, or literally reanimating parts of Elsa's memories in front of her and having her react to the events that occurred was a bit much. Seriously, these parts were extremely lame and went against the themes of the movie. Part of the message is that we can't stop change and how that's okay. As great as things are in your life right now, it will not be that way forever, and clinging to your past happiness will only make you depressed as time goes on because you won't give yourself the opportunity to experience new things in the future that could actually make you happier. But that fantastic message is muddled by how much the movie does to cling itself to the first one, hoping that your love of a movie that came out 6 years ago will give this one a pass. Which sucks because everything original this movie does is leaps and bounds better than the first one. The actual plot of the film has much more substance and brings us deeper into this world. I want to follow Anna and Elsa going on adventures of self-discovery to the end of time. I cannot put into words how perfect Idina Menzel and Kristen Bell are as these characters. These characters are so great because they are so great. They play off each other so amazingly, and their relationship is so unlike what is usually portrayed on screen that seeing them together is always a joy to behold. And I think the movie knows this because it tries to get rid of all of the other characters as quickly as they can, no matter how lazy it is. Kristoff and Sven serve little to no purpose in the movie and are only in it because Disney wants to sell more of this.
Give me a snack, please.
They go into the Enchanted Forest with our leads and then the movie literally just leaves them there. He has a beautifully dumb song in the style of an 80s power ballad with a bunch of reindeer and then just disappears for a good 45 minutes or so into the movie to rightfully focus on Anna and Elsa's adventure. Then he just pops back up for the climax to have his subplot resolve. He doesn't learn anything and he really doesn't do much. I don't understand why Anna and Elsa told the trolls to watch over the kingdom when that role in the story could have easily been fulfilled by Kristoff and would have done a lot more to show off Kristoff and Anna's relationship more than anything this movie actually did. It would give the movie an excuse to cut back to Arendelle to see how it's doing, and then maybe your comic relief wouldn't be squarely focused on Olaf. Yeah, every Disney movie needs this cute, marketable comic relief to sell billions of toys, but Olaf was more than that. Hear me out. Olaf worked in the first movie because he was connected to Elsa's current story. Despite wanting to live in isolation, she created Olaf from her memories of her time with Anna, who she knows she just abandoned. He is a manifestation of her sense of fun and love for her sister. He is the thing that makes Elsa realize that her powers can be used to bring joy into the world, and that there is a part of her that doesn't want to be alone. Olaf was a connection that was vital to bringing our two leads together, to make them break away from the lie that they believe. That Elsa is best left in isolation away from the people she loves, and helps them discover that love is the strongest thing about her powers. Olaf was important and funny on top of that. But in Frozen 2, Olaf's only purpose is to constantly spout "water has memory." That's it. A character literally spouting a random line that happens to be relevant to the ongoing story doesn't mean that they're important. Everything about Olaf in this movie is just to make you remember how much you love him in the first movie. That is why the song "When I'm Older" doesn't resonate with you the same way In Summer from the first film does. A snowman singing about how he loves summer and all things hot tells you everything you need to know about his naive but good-willed nature. It teaches us everything we need to know about him in a single song so the movie doesn't have to spend the time having him develop. Boom! 2 minutes, that's it. When I'm Older adds nothing that we didn't already know. It is closer to Fixer Upper from the original film than In Summer. If a song in a musical can be cut without losing anything, whether that be plot progression, character development, or to add impact to a single moment, then you have dead weight sitting in your film that only exists to pad out your runtime. It took me until Olaf's death that the reason he was still with Anna was just to rip him away from the story and make her have her big character moment. The movie literally needed to get rid of both of these characters in order to further our lead stories. So why not have them stay in Arendelle? They could still provide comic relief in the story by cutting back to them for moments of levity. They could be preparing the kingdom for a massive proposal for when Anna gets back, only to have to sacrifice it at the end to protect the kingdom from its destruction. It would have given the characters more to do. It would have had them more useful to the story rather than being a random Deus Ex Machina, and would make a hell of a lot more sense than just letting the trolls control the kingdom. I don't think people realize how fucking terrible those characters are. I know it may seem like I've been very negative throughout this entire review, but it's only because I loved this movie so much I couldn't help but try to find ways to improve it. Every negative thing I felt about this movie was because of sequel baggage. The wasted characters, the wasted runtime spent on songs that don't matter. It's all to deliver more of what people enjoyed about the first movie, which was much more childish than the tone Frozen 2 wanted to have. By clinging so hard to the things that made the first movie fun, it brought down the stuff that the sequel wanted to do differently because the talking snowman that cracks one-liners at every opportunity surprisingly clashes in a story about politics and betrayal leading to war between kingdoms. It wanted to try to mature with the people growing up with the original film while still trying to capture people of the same age group. The new characters, setting, and story are all much larger step forward from the original. Each new face adds a new view of the world, the lore, something to make the movie feel more alive. It is a grand adventure following myth and legend more akin to something like Lord of the Rings rather than what Disney's done before, and that's the stuff that works. The action scenes were some of the absolute highlights of the movie because Elsa's powers can be animated so wildly and fluidly. The way the ice interacts with the environment, the way the elementals affect the world around them, it lent itself excellently to intense scenes of conflict. Elsa's fight to cross the Dark Sea was intense, gripping, and had an excellent sense of pacing and emotion in every facet of its animation. The movie is absolutely gorgeous and proves why style is necessary to make an animated film stand out. No one is going to remember The Lion King in 5 years. People will still be talking about The Lion King until the end of time. And you know what? Same with Frozen. The first film has already cemented itself as a modern classic. Even if I don't think it's the best Disney film, the characters, the story, and the music put it up there in the Disney library. Frozen 2 has a lot of flaws, and I mean a lot of flaws. But there's this innate sense of childhood nostalgia that the movie just brings out of me through the story, the characters, and the aesthetic. Yeah, Olaf is stupid. Yeah, Kristoff has no role in the story. Yeah, it's kinda weird that their dead mother's the siren luring them to this place populated by your own memory, so the memory of their mother can't be there to call her unless Elsa's there in the first place. There are a million things that just don't work in the movie, but while you're watching it, you don't really care. I'm not saying the movie gets away with its shortcomings because it's a kid's movie and the flaws don't matter, but because the movie just hits the part of my brain that makes me not care about those flaws as much. Give me a beautiful lullaby and a few notes sang with a beautiful voice as motifs in all your music and I'm hooked. Give me a classic fantasy adventure and I get drawn in. Give me those big Disney show-stopping numbers and I just go back to being a child again. Disney has weaponized childhood nostalgia and yeah, it fucking worked on me, what can I say? I'm allowed to really enjoy something and recommend it even if it has flaws, because nothing is perfect. Especially not Disney. But sometimes something nice and simple that checks all the right boxes for you is how you want to unwind after a long day. And Frozen 2 is one of those movies that just made me feel unequivocally good and happy. If you've watched my reviews for a while and you tend to agree with me, then you might just enjoy Disney being Disney. And if you still don't know if this is going to be your kind of movie or not, then just watch this music video for Into the Unknown. Disney themselves posted the full scene, and it perfectly encapsulates everything I love in this movie. The gorgeous animation, the beautiful music, the amount of passion put into every facet of the scene. If you like what you see, then yeah, 100%, you'll enjoy Frozen 2 despite its many flaws. If you just look at this scene and think that it's everything you hate about Disney, yeah, you won't like it. No shame. The corporate weaponization of childhood nostalgia isn't for everyone, and that would probably just make the flaws of the movie stick out even more to a degree that you just can't forgive it like I can. And that's okay. I want to thank you guys for getting to the end of this video. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know down below, or join my Discord so you get a discussion going. If you like what I had to say, then click this playlist over here to see my opinions on video games and other movies. And why not subscribe so you know whenever I post a new video? Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the unknown.